Okay, so I had a few people who were interested in um, my most recent project, so I figured I'd just make a little video. But here you can see it's lots and lots of code. I started using Cursor, which is an AI-driven coding IDE. Um, it's actually pretty awesome. So here's like my whole Explorer tree. These are all my files, and I have everything open because I'm sloppy. Um, but blah blah blah. I won't bore you with all the shtick, but basically, you talk to the AI agent here, so I can just type in my message and whatever that might be. Why do I have caps on? Boomer yelling. Um, and blah 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 blah. So AI code kind of presents new problems. Um, it doesn't always necessarily use best standard practices, which is why my main.py is so incredibly long. A lot of these are functions that should be defined in like other files and stuff and then imported to the main. But so again, there are some drawbacks, but it kind of changed my workflow. So like, let's look at. Anyway, this is the game I'm working on. The song is awesome. My friend Tim made this and let me use it. So shout out to Tim. The song rules. I'm not going to listen to it all day. The main game music's a little slower and more droning. I think I want to rework it, but I'm just going to mute it for now since I'm talking. Um, so anyway, this is based on the old. It was an NES game originally. When I played it, it was Shadowgate Classic on Game Boy. But the idea is it's Shadowgate. It's a point and click adventure. My game is called DoomGate. I went and put a Doom spin on it because I love Doom. Um, but yeah, basically you're presented with an area. Now, when I hover over the sprites, uh, they're highlighted in bright or bright green right now. There's actually a method to that madness, um, because the images themselves are AI generated. I'm kind of using AI thick and thin through this whole process. Um, and an AI can't see. It doesn't have eyes. It doesn't know where in the picture things should line up. So that takes kind of like the human touch, right? Now, these were all over the place. They were just randomly about. And I was kind of having the problem like, how do I tell it where I want it to be? You know what I mean? Like it's not practical for me to calculate the coordinates inside this PNG image file and tell it that. Like that's not practical for a human to do. So I created a debug mode, or I asked it to create a debug mode. And initially it was going to have me running back and forth. Like, we turn on the debug mode, it highlights each of the sprites. And then I would actually have to go through into the code here. I mean, we're in the middle of nowhere. And like I said, that file's way too long. So I'm not exactly sure where it is right now. But I would have to change the coordinates. And there's 4 coordinates. It's basically, you know, top and bottom corners. A, B, C, D, and E, or A, B, C, D for argument's sake. I think it's actually like L, W, D, and H. But again, I'm not going to bore you with unnecessary details. So that wasn't really working for me, right? Because I'd have to keep switching between here and here. So I told it, listen, give me the ability to, drag and drop. I can scale the image. I can grab these to make them taller or shorter, whatever need be. And then I can move them around to line them up with where I want them. Then I hit F4. I'm not going to do that because I already had these where I liked them. There's 12 levels. I have a couple more to go through. But then F4, so that's what's interesting. Let's back out of here. This would then save those coordinates to this hotspot layout JSON file. And then when I run the compiler again, it grabs any information here that doesn't. Oh, it's LTWH. I think I said D. But anyway, it looks at the coordinates in the game, looks at what's here. If this is different than that, automatically updates. So it allows me to kind of like debug. Now, what's interesting about that is like traditionally, if I was hard coding this and doing it all manually, it would probably have been easier to use its original debug mode. And then even just developing that debug mode is additional time and effort. Um, but with AI, I can just tell it like, "Hey, build me that debug mode," and psh, you know what I mean? Like, so it's a huge time saver. It's still not working completely without human interaction, right? It still needs me to tell it like, "Hey, no, this should be over here and that should be there." Um, but it allowed me to build a debug framework within minutes to an hour as opposed to spending a whole day to weeks working on that, right? Um, well, anyway, enough about the process. So let's run the game again. One of the really cool things that I did here, I've worked on other little like game projects here and there. Um, and one of them was like this like bullet hell shooter based on another old arcade game called Robotron 2084. So I didn't want like Robotron 2084 to disappear. So in this first room, there's a little terminal that you can use. And you can enter cheat codes. I made myself cheat codes. Eventually, like once the debugging and like all that other stuff is done, I had it build me another debug like for the user interface to like move and shade and kind of change where these buttons are laid out. Um, Once all the debugging stuff is done, it's going to get converted into a cheat code and dumped into our Linda terminal here. I forget what Linda stands for. I don't. The game made up its own plot and stuff, and like some of it's pretty cool, and some of it's like kind of weird. So I had to like change things. But anyway, if we type stonks into this terminal, it brings up my bullet hell. And look at it, even has like a persistent like high score thing, which I'm kind of thrilled about. Um, but yeah, let's give it a whirl. Oops. I forgot you start with a sword and not a gun, which is kind of weird. Not super useful in this type of game. Those little red dots are health packs. I mean, once you get the mechanics down, I can sort of like change. I can make these little red squares look like robots or something. It was sort of like a framework for a game that I gave up on partway through. Go figure. I would start a project and not finish it. I mean, I know that doesn't sound like something I would do. Ooh. But yeah, you get the idea. Dodge bullets, shoot guys, run around. Oh, oh no. It gets difficult kind of quick, which is why those high scores weren't so high. And then I think minigun. Yeah, minigun. Boss battle. I put in bosses. After level 10, there's like tanks. It just keeps getting progressively harder until you die. The idea is you're not going to win. You just eventually see what score you got. Try to have the highest score. Pretty straightforward. We'll do faster shooting. But this is kind of cool. So I think what I'm going to do actually is make like a little cheat code for like each of a bunch of games that I made and just like hide them in, the Arbiter game, or I'm sorry, DoomGate. Now the thing with DoomGate, so there's a lot of work left to be done. I got to finish adjusting all those room sprites. Another fun thing is I had Gemini generate. You can almost see it like over here. This little blue orb thing monitors like X amount of uh, plasma lantern. The lantern was like a function from Shadowgate, where like the more actions you took, the more your torch would burn down, and once you were alone in the dark, you would die. Same kind of thing here. You have to keep your actions within your usage here. So when you're generating these PNGs with Gemini, um, anybody familiar with imaging and stuff, when you want part of the image to be transparent, as in you should be able to see through it to what's behind it, it's typically filled in with like white and gray checkerboard. So I asked Gemini to create these images with the transparent part, and this is one that I've altered. I think this is 90%. So like, let's like open this box. Yeah, you can see it happen. I open the box, I'm taking these items. That's other game functionality. You can see it actually included the checkerboard in the image. And, just being kind of like late at night, I didn't even test it, didn't even think about it, just dumped them into the game, fired it up, and realized, oh God. So now I have to one by one. I only have like 9 more of those to do, but I have to like remove the background, cut it to the right number of pixels square, upload it back into the game. It gets to be a bit tedious. Oops, this on. Sorry. But yeah, so I don't know. It's a work in progress. This little frowny face guy here is going to end up being a. I'm gonna make like a helmet with like the Doom Marine's face in it, and then like when you do something good, he'll look smiley, and when you die, he'll make a dead face. I don't know. Little bits of stuff here and there to develop. Um, have numerous rooms to go through to get it all done, and you know, once it's finally done, though, I'm going to package it into an executable using a library called PyInstaller. And then once that's done, I should be able to just kind of like send it to people and you guys can all play it. Um, but yeah, I don't know. If you have any ideas, let me know. If you have any questions, let me know. If you just think it's cool, well, stocks, me too. Bye.